Well, I'm here with Brandon Straka from the #WalkAway campaign.
Yep.
And over the last few years, you've gained a following, and recently
Lost it all.
Yeah, basically. From January 6th.
Right.
Now, you were there, but to many they may correlate that with breaking windows. But what is your story?
Yeah. About that day?
About that day.
So I was scheduled to be a speaker at the Capitol. So as I always understood it, there was going to be an event at the Ellipse where President Trump spoke and a number of other people. We were going to march to the Capitol. There would be another stage set up, and I was one of dozens of people scheduled to speak. As I was en route to my speaking engagement, I started getting messages from people at home watching on television saying, we're hearing that people are going inside the building. And I became very curious about what that meant. So I immediately started shooting a video, and I experienced it this enough to know, don't wait until something happens. Start shooting now, because you never know what's going to happen. And so I shot like a 10-minute video walking onto the grounds, walking up to the building. And then when I got to the building, thousands of people were collected on the stairs, and I walked up to the top, and the doors were open, and people were walking inside the building. And so I stood out there for 8 minutes shooting this video of people, some people, not everybody, I mean, not even the majority, but just some people walking in. And I uploaded my video to Twitter, and 2.5 weeks later, I was arrested and put in jail. And I got charged with several felonies and a misdemeanor. One of the felonies was occupying restricted grounds. I never went inside the Capitol. I didn't go inside the building. I stood outside for 8 minutes. And so that kind of began a really horrible nightmare that honestly is still going on to this day. And it's been quite insane. Through the process of the working through the legal charges, the felonies were dropped. I ended up pleading guilty to one single misdemeanor charge of disorderly conduct. But still to this day, I am considered an insurrectionist, a terrorist, a white supremacist, you name it.
Considering what happened that day, how do you feel about, what we think of as just January 6th? I mean, there was different parts of that day, what was at the Eclipse, and then what happened after that at the Capitol. But when it comes to the Capitol, overall, what do you think of what happened that day?
I think it was awful. I think it was shameful. People ask me, well, who started it? Who instigated it? I don't know. I mean, I honestly wasn't even there. I wasn't there when it started. I wasn't even on the side of the building where it started. I don't know if it was Antifa. I don't know if it was BLM. I don't know if it was Trump supporters. I have no idea. But I can tell you that regardless of who did it or what their motivations were, I think it was a terrible day. I think it was a shameful day. I think it was a shameful thing that happened in terms of the violence and destruction to the Capitol. If you look at the whole day, the 5th and the 6th, and I mean, the majority of that time was people peacefully and lovingly expressing their points of view, coming together, holding signs, singing songs, praying, coming together. The actions and the violence at the Capitol were horrifying, and I don't condone it in any way, shape, or form. I'm not okay with it in any way, shape, or form. But to me, there was something much bigger about that day than that. And it was a day when hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions of people gathered together to peacefully make their voices heard, and that's gotten forgotten in all of this.
For those who were violent, do you think the way they've been treated is deserved?
Okay, that's a tough question, and here's why. I don't know the personal backgrounds of every single person who was charged. Somebody may have broken a window and gone inside and vandalized something, and we might say, okay, you shouldn't have done that, and you should be charged, and you should face a consequence for what you did. But then some people might say, well, yeah, they're facing a consequence, but it's too extreme, it's too much. And that may be true. The problem is, I don't know did this person have a prior criminal record? Was this their 6th or 7th offense? Were they on probation when they did it? I don't know the answers to these questions. I don't know the history of every single person. If people had no prior criminal record, if they were good, upstanding citizens who made a horrible choice to break a window or something, yes, I think they should be charged. And yes, I think that they should face a just punishment. But I don't think that they should face an extreme punishment. I don't think that lives should be irreparably destroyed. I think people should be allowed to make mistakes, pay for their mistakes, and move on with their life. And I think the way these cases are being treated, people are never going to be allowed to move on from this.
For those who were there genuinely because they were angry, what do you think their motivation was? And what do you think they hope to accomplish?
I think people were there because they were...
My last question is, well, surrounding January 6th, there's been a lot of division. You have some people say, it was a terrorist attack, and some people even comparing it to 9/11.
Right.
And then you have, maybe other sides saying, well, maybe it wasn't that bad, and how they're being treated is unfair. How do you think the country can unite over January 6th and kind of come together and maybe come to an agreement?
Oh, my goodness. I don't know. I don't know, because I know that the people who have got it fixed in their minds that this was an organized plot by Trump supporters and an act of terrorism and an act of insurrection to overthrow the government, I don't see those people walking back that decision very much. They hate Donald Trump. They hate me. They hate his supporters. And I don't see people letting go of that rage as it is attached to that day and the fear. And listen, if I watch CNN and nothing else, and every day CNN was telling me that this violent, deranged mob came to D.C. with the intent to overthrow the government and attack the Capitol and all these things, I would probably hate those people too and be pretty upset. It's a misinformation campaign, and I don't know how we get past that as it pertains to this specific event. As far as the other side of the aisle, I think that all we can do at this point is try to find justice, proper justice, for the people who have been charged. I don't think that people should, just because they may have walked through an open door or were on the steps when they shouldn't have been, I don't think that people's lives should be irreparably destroyed. I believe people should be allowed to make a mistake, pay for it, and move on. And I hope that more and more conservatives will begin supporting the people whose lives have been really, really damaged by this.
Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.